saying when you talk about that?
All right, so let's talk a little bit more about what Jerome Powell actually talked about last week. Okay, I'm pretty sure that you would have already checked out my video from last week. If you have not, I'm going to be leaving it up here somewhere. Basically, it's just talking about what actually happened during the whole entire FOMC. If you're interested in that, just click over here. Then you can kind of understand my whole entire thought process. But today, I still want to talk a little bit more about it because Jerome Powell is going to be coming up in front of the Congress to actually explain about this whole entire situation. And Bloomberg is actually covering it as well. So I would be talking about Bloomberg as well over here. Ta-da! Okay, so Powell faces tricky task of explaining rates. Pause in Congress. Okay, so I'm gonna tell you all over again, okay? Because over here they basically say that Powell is gonna have an opportunity this week to clarify what many found a confusing message on the path of interest rates, with the added task of assuring the Democrats and GOPs that the economy is on track. Okay, I'm pretty sure that I've already talked about this for a lot of time. Okay, I think yesterday, well, not really yesterday, the video that I actually released last week about the whole entire thing, I actually kind of explained it a little bit, which is the whole entire FOMC meeting felt like it was very confusing for the end consumer. Okay, it did not really make sense because whatever Jerome Powell wanted, it wasn't exactly what he's actually talking about. Whatever that he's saying is not actually reflecting to what he's actually doing, and that's why it's really bringing a lot of confusion in the whole entire market. Okay, so I do think that we probably want to hear more about this. And of course, I'm pretty sure that all the lawmakers and the Congress are going to be coming out to actually give him hard-hitting questions. So I'll be looking forward for that because that's going to be happening effectively tomorrow. Okay, Wednesday and Thursday, he's going to be in front of the Capitol, in front of the Congress, talking about this whole entire stuff. Okay, so let's see. Before the banking sector turmoil that prompted a sharp criticism of the Fed, forced officials to rethink their policy strategy. Okay, so this is going to be basically the first testimony that we're going to be getting after the financial crisis that actually happened as well. Okay, so this is going to be quite interesting. Okay, because effectively what the lawmakers are going to be asking about are going to be about three different things, I believe. Okay, the first thing is definitely about the interest rates, how they actually think that interest rates should go. Why do you think there's two more interest rate hike to come? How are you going to be actually projecting it to either go down or go up? Things of that nature. Alongside with, of course, the inflation and whatnot. Okay, next thing I'm pretty sure that a lot of them are going to be talking about would be about the employment situation. Okay, because I think the SEP that actually showed up, the employment wasn't that fantastic for the projection, and I think some of the lawmakers would actually want to bring up those points. Okay, and finally, it will be about this banking sector situation. Why do we want to talk about banking situation? Okay, so first up, you need to understand that because why are the banking sector failing back then was due to the fact that they were holding to a lot of bonds. They were holding on to a lot of treasuries. Okay, when you're holding on to a lot of treasuries, most of them you actually, the banks themselves actually bought in during 2020, 2021, where the rates were actually relatively low. Okay, the rates back then was about about 2% or so, I believe. And right now we're sitting somewhere in the 5 to 6% for those different treasuries as well. Okay, so if you actually locked in 10-year treasuries at 2% for 10 years, 2 years in, we are already at 5%. Kind of make it in a sense where if you were to cash out those treasury, you're going to be losing a lot of money. That's one of the reasons why those big banks are starting to fail one by one, where we actually ended with just Credit Suisse being the last one. So, what this actually means is that the lawmakers will definitely want to bring this up for a topic, which is for Jerome Powell, if you keep on continuously adding all these different rate hikes, you keep on increasing rates, do you think about all these different consequences that could happen to all these different banking sectors? Do you actually think about this various 75 basis point increment, 50 basis point increment, 25 basis point increment? Do you think that's going to be affecting those banking crises, the banking sectors? So, similarly, with a pause, you would also have to think about how would that also either positively impact or negatively impact the market from there on out as well. So I do think that there's going to be a lot of different information for us to really dissect for that meeting alone. So I am looking forward for that one. Okay, so the most acute financial strains has eased, but the question remained about the extent to which tighter credit will weigh on the economy and what that means for the Fed. Okay, so basically before the Fed's before the whole financial crisis happened 2 months ago, the, the thing is that banks usually always have this different rules, which is that you have to at least be holding on to 1% of the net worth of the whole entire bank, because the thing is that you are not able to be so super duper risky in all those investments. You are not supposed to be, borrowing so much money to the point where you do not have any more money for people, so that to prevent a house run to a certain extent. Okay, but the thing is that it became so easy for you to actually borrow money, lend money out, to the point where banks are becoming more and more risky, hence the whole entire financial collapse that happened with the five different banks. So I believe that what they're actually talking about here, which is the tighter credit, will most likely be talking about this different 1 to 2%. There is a good chance that the Feds would actually be raising it up to 3% or even 4%, depending on how they would want to actually target this whole entire thing. But you also have to take into consideration, because just by increasing the number, it sounds easy, okay? Just increase the number, it's fine, okay? But that would actually mean that you will be bringing in lesser revenue for the banks themselves, because they are not able to borrow as much money out, because they have to keep such a huge amount of money effectively. So if they are unable to borrow that much money out, which means that revenue is going to be affected. And if revenue is going to be affected, the different companies that actually needs the loan would not be able to get the loan. That means that the different companies who want to get a very, very good loan at a good price, they couldn't get all the loan at one single bank. They will have to head to a different bank to get another loan of a different amount at a different rate for whatever the reason is. That would actually means that the company that needs a lot of loan, that company themselves would also have a hit on expenses, because they have to spend more money to borrow more money effectively. Okay, so that's how you actually see a relative tightening happening in the whole entire market. I do see that's what's going to be happening as well. Okay, I believe that Elizabeth Warren likes to talk about the tighter credit as well, so I do believe that that's going to be talked about in this meeting as well. Okay. Next up, Powell need to reassure Republicans the Fed is not backing down from its campaign to contain price pressures. Let's be honest, I don't think there's much to really reassure anymore. While pointing Democrats to the resilience of the economy as officials prepare to raise rates further this year. I think that the Democrats do not want Jerome Powell to increase rates anymore, which is why I think a lot of them are going to be hitting him with very hard questions, simply because they were not expecting two more rates in this year. A lot of them were expecting maximum one more rate hike. If anything, they were expecting the rate hike to happen, and then they would just say pause perpetually until 2024 maybe. Then we start to see any sort of a cut. Okay, so it was a pretty surprising thing for the Feds to actually come up with two more rate hikes for this year. Okay, Democrats are nervous because they would rather declare victory and move on. I think they're gonna try to caution this time against further increases, but Republicans are just gonna hammer away and act like inflation hasn't come down. Okay, so clearly it's quite obvious that right now the Republican sides are thinking that we're still in a recessionary trend, whereas the Democrats are thinking that we are already out of the recession. I'll be making a different video for this part. I've talked about it before. I'm going to be making a separate video. Most likely it's going to be coming up next week, I'm assuming, because next week I'll be going overseas. So I'll try to put it for next week. So you guys will most likely be seeing that video next week. Okay, just stay tuned for that. Okay, but anyway, Jerome Powell will be fresh off the Feds. Yeah, we already know this. Blah blah blah. Yeah, the rates have been left rates unchanged for the first time in 15 months, which is this is the first time that we actually paused in 15 months or 10 meetings. And right now they also signal that they may deliver two more hikes. I already talked about that as well. Okay, Fed watcher and investors struggled to digest the message from Powell's post-meeting press conference, and lawmakers last week said they plan to press him for an explanation. So like I said, like all of us, okay? All of us, I thought I was the weird one to think that Jerome Powell was so weird. Okay, I was so weirded out by his whole entire narrative and such. Okay, I really hope that we actually get some form of an explanation of what Jerome Powell actually sees of the market, and we can actually kind of see how he want to actually maneuver around this whole entire market. But yeah, I think the rest of it, they basically are talking about how one of the fastest tightening campaigns in its history, but at the same time, it's also one of the fastest hyperinflationary trend in the market as well. So I don't know. But yeah, a lot of people are saying that most likely Jerome Powell is going to just act this two different rate hikes out, and then immediately actually for the next SCP that we're going to be getting in September, he's going to just change it downwards, where we are going to be left with like either no more hikes, while hiking just one time for the rest of the year or whatnot. I think most of the time it's going to be like that. I do believe that we do not need two more hikes. I think two more hikes is a little bit too much. Even though I am someone who actually wants more rate hikes, because I want the market to go down effectively. I do think that the market would be going down effectively where my money is at. Okay, but I do think that two rate hikes is a little bit too much. Okay, but that's just my own opinion for that. But yeah, I think that it's going to be quite an interesting thing, because last week was Fed week. We got CPI, we got FOMC, we got PPI, and then this week we're going to be getting Jerome Powell in front of the Congress going through this whole entire thing. I hope they're going to be talking about something interesting instead of something boring, like the past few Congress meetings. But I'll see if I can actually cover it, and then I'll upload it for my next upload, which should be on the Saturday. But yeah, anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next one. Bye.